Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? It is ridiculously hot here in Connecticut today, and I helped a friend move. And this was not a best day to move, but it's a day I had, so I'm a little tired. Um, and it's taken a lot of time to make this video. I've had to recut this a few times, and maybe it's because I'm a little lightheaded after the day. But I got the air conditioning on. It's chilly enough I can wear a flannel shirt now, which is great. I get to drink all the water and refreshing beverages I want to, so I'm gonna have a little bit of mixed soda and Powerade. That's delicious. And we're going to talk about making Hollow Earth Expedition or Ubiquity character. And the reason I wanted to make this video is kind of just walk you through like how the process, what the thought process is, and like the fact that it's not as daunting as it seems. The video is really kind of aimed at people that might be interested in playing things like Hollow Earth or the other Ubiquity-based games, or like old school guys like myself or like might be interested. But you know, it was daunting when I looked at these games for the first time. I'm looking at all these different skills and all these different talents and resources, and it seems overwhelming at first. And so I wanted to kind of give you the mindset that I learned to take towards creating one of these characters, and it's really not that hard. So I want to talk a little bit about like how I made Spencer Holliday, and he's the character I played in Anthony's Hollow Earth Expedition game just a couple days ago. And that was a great one-shot. Jason from Dark Age of Roleplay Games, played the other character. My only regret about that game was that it was a one-shot, and because it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with those two characters, and we ended with this great cliffhanger, and it was a hoot. So anyhow, I want to kind of walk you through creating this character. In Ubiquity, part of the deal is you're going to create a character that's like a little bit better than the average person. They're going to have like 1, 2, 3, 4 skills. They have some kind of shtick where they're better than the average person at something. There's something they're known for. If you don't put points in various skills in Ubiquity, it doesn't mean you can't do these things. It just means when they become harder and harder, you're not going to be able to do them. When they become more meaningful, you're just, there's another person that does that. You may not be the safecracker. You might be able to do some stuff that requires, a little dexterity and being nimble and whatnot. But that's probably not your bag at that point. So the character I created for All for One, Philippe Moreau, I wanted to make him like a musketeer. So I put all my skill points in things like fencing and athletics and acrobatics and riding, and the talents that I purchased were based on being able to parry and riposte, and just so he's a hell of a swordsman. And he's the guy that swings on the rope and climbs up the building sometimes. Rides the horse and gallops and jumps over stuff and all that good stuff. That's Philippe's shtick. But I wanted to make a character that was more of a con artist. When Anthony sold the game, or spun the scenario, the idea was it's going to be 1937. You're flying from Brazil after smuggling guns to the freedom fighters. You picked up a bunch of gold idols, some kind of archaeological stuff, and some cash. You're flying back to Barbados, planning your next move. He said, go and watch the Raiders of the Lost Ark again. Think of playing guys like Indiana Jones and Belloc. Go watch Treasure of the Sierra Madre. Look at those characters. You're going to play guys that are a little bit like, not underworld, but just, have some questionable motivations. More greed. So I thought that'd be great. So when you create a Ubiquity character, part of what you need to do is kind of approach like, what's their motivation? And so I picked greed for this guy. I picked an archetype of adventurer. So I knew he was going to be the con man. I kind of thinking of like a Indiana Jones, but like the darker Indiana Jones, the guy that's just out there for the cash. So that's my first thought about Spencer. And I knew that Jason was going to be playing somebody that was more athletic. He was supposedly a gold medalist team, like in the rower. And so doesn't mean he was the best guy on the team. It just meant he was on a team that won a gold medal. So he's really athletic. He spent all his skill points there, and on academics biology because he's going to be a doctor, and on brawling. Well, I guess he's good at fisticuffs. Maybe he was a boxer at one point. I looked at his character. I looked at the skills. I could see the problem. Like we probably should have a few more satellite skills, and I should have talked to him about that prior to the game, and I didn't. So that's my fault. But I think that kind of falls into the hey, it's your first time playing. This is the first session. If it was a continuing campaign, let's tweak your character just a little bit. Give you a free pass. But anyhow, at this point, one of the most important things to do that I found when creating a Ubiquity character is figure out look at the talents. Figure out what you really want this person to be really good at. You have to kind of think of the skills. So I already knew that I was going to spend some skill points on things like con and diplomacy and empathy. and maybe investigation. I knew I wanted to spend, at least a couple points into academics archaeology, because he should know about that sort of stuff if he's going to be trading in that stuff. I knew I wanted to spend a bit in survival because he was going to be out in the wilderness. So, that's kind of the idea I was going for him. But I also, there's a talent called Jack of all trades. This is a talent I've been wanting to use since I saw it. And what this allows you to do is to ignore the -2 penalty to all untrained skill rolls. Because in Ubiquity, your skills are based on their base attribute, and if you put any skill points in it. If you haven't put any skill points in something, then you can still attempt it, but you have to take a -2 penalty. So unless you have an ability score of at least 3, you have no dice to roll, unless you're spending style points. Really bad. So this is pretty cool. It's a cool little talent. So pretty much that means you're really a jack of all trades, master of none. And you burned one of your talents. You can't make your character. I couldn't pick something that's cooler. But I thought to myself, well, I'm not sure what we're getting into. And I thought that would be kind of useful for this con man, shyster guy that can kind of get himself in and out of all these situations. So I was kind of sold this jack of all trades. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with this another talent, because generally, in Ubiquity, I spend my other 15 points on another talent. And first I was thinking of something like, there's something, I forget what it's called off the top of my head. It's something like inspirational, so you can inspire somebody else to perform their skill better. And I was going to do that at first, and then I saw the fact, what Jason had put his stuff into. And I'm thinking, what am I going to say? Roll faster? So I'm like, I'm not going to spend something on that. I also saw that I wanted to have as big a con as possible, so I figured I'd buy the talent called Skill Aptitude, which gives you a +2 to any skill. And so I figured I'd give it +2 to con. That was my first idea with this guy. And then the other thing you do in Ubiquity is you have 15 points to spread around the 6 attributes. And these attributes are body, charisma, dexterity, intelligence, strength, and willpower. They should sound familiar if you play D&D, because they're the same darn stats. And they range from 1 to 5. The average person has a stat of 2 in any of these abilities. So my algorithm is, go ahead, put 2 in every stat. So you've spent 12 of those points. You could have a 1 in any ability score if you really want to, but it's really not a good idea. Because the stats affect a lot of things. There's secondary stats based on them. There's skills based on them. Just bad idea, in my opinion. So I never do that. So that means you got 3 more points to play with. And so I was thinking, what do I do? Do I put like a 2 in charisma and just give him a charisma 4 and at least 1 intelligence to give him an intelligence of 3? Because he's got to be a smart guy. He's the brains of the operation. And also, I have to have an intelligence of 3, because in order to have Jack of all trades, a requirement is you have an intelligence of at least 3, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm thinking that, and then I'm thinking, what? Maybe I'll put the other point in maybe I'll have 3, 3, and 3, and the other one will be willpower. And I'm thinking, I want this guy to have some kind of physical ability somewhere, because we're going to be heading into danger, guaranteed. We're not making it to Barbados. Planes crash and something's going to go wrong. Hollow Earth expedition. Also, I want to be able to shoot a gun. So that's the dexterity-based skill. So I figure I'm going to get the most bang for my buck with my skill points if I put a point in dexterity. So I gave a dexterity of 3, an intelligence of 3, and a charisma of 3. Everything else is 2. That's my first shot with this character, because it gets. I keep on working on him. So that gives me, with a dexterity of 3, that means I can put 1 point into pilot aircraft, and I can fly a plane. Why did I want to fly a plane? Because Anthony said, well, who's going to fly the plane? And I'm like, what? There is no way I'm giving up a scene to a non-player character if the plane's going to be. I know something's going to happen on this plane, so I want to be behind the wheel. This would be great. If Jason didn't want to spend his points on that. So I spend one of my 15 skill points, pilot aircraft. And then I put, another skill point into firearms. So I at least have, a skill rating of 4 in both those. Which is cool because, in Ubiquity, just because you have a skill rating doesn't mean you always have to roll dice. I can take the average. So the skill rating of 4, that means I can do average tasks. A success level of 2. 2 successes is average. 3 is tough, 4 is hard, 5 is very hard, 6 is near impossible, 1 is easy. So oftentimes, you have to look at the averages. So if somebody's got a skill rating of 6, that means on the average they can do tough tasks. Skill rating of 8, they can do hard tasks. And usually 8 is, pretty much where you're maxed out, making a starting character. So you have to, that's because that's part of the deal. Starting character, you pick out like what do you want them to be really good at, and this is based on really their talents and where do you dump a lot of your skill points. So yeah, at this point I'm looking at all. I'm kind of running out of skill points. What do I spend my skill points on? One of the things I was running into with Spencer at this point was the fact that, like, gosh, he wasn't able to synergize any of his skills, because in order to use skill synergy in Ubiquity, where if you can use 2 skills together and get a +2 die bonus, well, you've got to have at least a rating of 4 in the next skill. If I'm unskilled in an area, I've got this Jack of all trades talent, which is great, but if I'm unskilled in a particular area, then that means my primary ability better be 4, because that's all I'm basing it on at that point. I'm Jack of all trades, so I'm taking a -2 die hit, but I still need that rating of 4. So I'm thinking to myself, what if I get rid of this skill ability on Khan, and instead use one of the other talents, either intelligence talents or charismatic talent. I'm not sure if those exist in Hollow Earth Expedition Core. They are in things like Leagues of Adventure. They're really generic Ubiquity talents. So all they do is give you a +1 to one of your primary attributes. So I decided I could give myself a +1 to my charisma and move my skill points around that way, or I'd give myself a +1 to intelligence. I tried the charismatic version and it just did not work out mathematically. So I figured, okay, wait a minute, let me just try if I give him his second talent is now intelligent, +1 to his intelligence rating. That worked out great. All of a sudden, I have all these skills which I have a rating of 4 on. Things like medicine, which came in really handy when I could at least heal Chuck. I did not heal myself really well. Things like linguistics. What if we meet some natives? We did, but not sure if they speak any language I know. Things like gambling. Things like it helped all my other bunch of other things. Ability scores. But also what it did was it freed me up. I didn't have to put as many points in these intelligence-based skills like empathy and what have you as I did before, because I had 1 extra point in all those because my intelligence was greater. So I actually was able to put more points in my charismatic skills. I didn't need to use that thing. Actually, I got him up to a con of 8 and fast talking of 9. And it upped my diplomacy and negotiation scores as well. And so it was I was able to put more points in those. My empathy raised. So at the end of the day, that's the guy I ended up going with. But it was based on this kind of synergy between the talents, between his motivation. I didn't talk about his flaws. I made him overconfident and a liar, which really helped. I mean, I think that kind of really meshes with the kind of guy he was, the fact that he was a jack of all trades, so he's a little overconfident. I noticed in play that he was somebody that was kind of like he was a little inconsistent and all over the place, which kind of fits. Anthony and I were talking about that. This being a jack of all trades kind of fits that you'd be a little bit inconsistent. Personality running from here, running there, because that's the kind of the guy emerged during play was sort of the guy that was on paper. It was kind of neat how that sort of happened. But that's the basic idea. I was hoping the video wouldn't be that long because it's really it takes less time to actually create the character than it did for me to talk about it. But you have to kind of figure out, what kind of person do I want this person to be? Look at these talents. Sometimes the talent will jump out at you, or a flaw or whatever will jump out at you, and you start to build somebody around that. But usually it's a talent. Maybe one skill and a talent, maybe an idea. Because my idea really was con man and greedy and jack of all trades. That was the basic idea. And then everything else kind of meshed around there. And it took a little tweaking here and there, but it wasn't a long build. So that's how I made Spencer Halliday, and that's pretty much the birth of a con man.